Hey, welcome to Golden Beats New Year's Roundtable 2425. We'll be hosting today. My name is Jensen Cummings. I am joined by Trance Jesus, Niffer, and Noah Martn. This is an international fair. We got multiple states represented. We got multiple countries represented. I'll have each of you, actually, let's just stay on that. Let's have each of you just kind of tell us where in the world you're at. Trance Jesus, where are you coming from?
I am hailing from Minneapolis, Minnesota, right in the middle of the country, not too far from Canada, actually closer to there than Chicago.
Oh, nice. All right, Niffer, where are you at?
I am in Denmark. My home country is in central Jutland, so kind of in the center.
Okay, and Noah, where are you coming to us from?
I'm from more or less I'm from the southern part of Quebec in Canada.
Okay.
A small city town called Mariah.
I love it. I just love the international flair, and we're coming from different countries, different backgrounds, but we can all like vibe together, and we're gonna have a really great conversation. So let the audience know what we're gonna get into. We're gonna talk music, of course, to start a little bit. What are those songs that we're looking forward to in 2025? Maybe those songs that we're looking forward to retiring in 2025. Want to get into some New Year's resolutions because we're talking New Year's. We're talking about kind of what 24 meant to us and what 25 opportunity is presented to us, and then we'll talk about the future. What's 2025 and beyond mean? What's the big vision? What are the big goals? Where's the hustle at for each of these artists? And then we'll let you know exactly where to find each of them on their social medias and to find their music as well. So let's get right into it. Let's talk music. Trance Jesus, I'll start with you. 2025. What is a song? What is the song of the year? What are you hoping that that pops off in this next year? As far as
my mind is still stuck in like getting my end of year countdown done for After Hours and kind of the tracks that I put together for that 2 hours with the music. So going into 2025, I would say that one of the artists that not only do I enjoy, but my wife kind of enjoys as well, Sarah DeWarren, aka Gritney. She's done a lot of work with over this past year. She's done a big track with Eli Brown. I just saw on her socials she was in the studio with Armin van Buuren. Trying myself to get some tracks going with her, but she's just a fantastic vocalist as well as a DJ as well. And so, she's one that definitely am keeping my eye on going into 2025.
Okay, I like what you low-key did there and said, hey, if you're looking for a collab in 2025, I'm ready. Yep. I like that. Okay, Niffer, for you, what is a song? What is an artist? What is a fellow artist? What's something you're looking forward to in 2025?
I think one of the artists I'm looking most forward to is Ezra Hazard. I think that's how you say it. He is a rave artist, and he makes a lot of great songs on, for example, Wave Culture, the record label, and he has done a lot of hard techno and also big room, and I'm really looking forward to it. He's one of my favorite producers right now.
Oh, nice. I'm unfamiliar, so I'll have to get into that for sure. And I love this because we're going to make sure and tag them on social media, drop their social media handles, so we'll follow up with everyone. So then, if you hear of any artists throughout this show, we'll make sure that you are able to connect with them.
He also he isn't like that big yet, but he has done some he's done some songs that have done pretty well, and I hope to see him blow up this year.
Yeah, we're here to connect. That's what Golden Beats is all about, right? Connecting with community, supporting each other through the good times and the hard times. So the come up is one of the best and worst of times, I think, as we all know. So being able to support each other as artists when sometimes you're alone on that stage, but the ability to kind of step off that stage and support each other, I think, is really important. And that is absolutely the mission of Golden Beats. So we appreciate when we get to hear about somebody who's on the come up. All right, Noah Martn, for you. 2025. What's that song? What's that soundtrack?
Well, for me, it's more or less complicated since I listen to so many different artists of any type of music, really. But for me, I'd say the two artists that I'm watching out the most for, they're already well known around the world. Edward Maya, the inventor of Stereo Love. That song's so good. Even today, I'm still listening to his new stuff and his old stuff because it's so developmental on how he did it that it's abstract, and it's probably one of my favorite songs ever. And going to the second artist, it would be Tungtevag. He's from Norway. He's collabed with Alan Walker, K391. He's also the one who, well, what song? He made Play with Alan Walker, K391, and I believe Mango. And that song is so good. But the one song by Tungtevag that I keep going back to, it's one that he did in 2021, I believe. And it's called Close Your Eyes. He collabed on it with Kashmir. So good. Mixing Indian styled sounds with electronic elements really just made it such a amazing blend and combo.
Oh, I love it. I can tell, Noah, you're a total music geek too, right? Just like the way that the composition of it and what goes into making a track. I can just tell when you hear a song like that, you're like, damn, that's how you make music,
exactly.
Right?
That's exactly how I am.
I love those moments where you kind of tilt your head like a dog who just heard a funny sound. You're like, how the hell did that just happen? And you're so excited and you're kind of pissed off at the same time. You're like, how did they do that? Why didn't I know about that? Where has this been my whole life? So
yes.
I can absolutely appreciate that. All right, next up, no shade to any song, but what is that song for you that you're like, I did it justice. I played it and played it and played it, and it is time for it to take that glory road, the walk off into the sunset. What's that song that was it had its time in 25 or 24, and we're looking forward to the next round of songs. What are we thinking here? Trance Jesus, jump in here.
Well, I'm going to ask you first because you didn't answer the last question. I was really curious about the last one. I'll let that one slide, but I want to hear your answer first. Then I'll go with mine.
Oh man, see, this is good because I was not prepared to give an answer at all. All right, now I'm gonna have to think about it too, and now we're gonna have to skip Trance Jesus and Niffer. You have to lead us off, and I will answer the question though. What's that one song?
I'm actually not sure right now which song, because most of the songs I listen to are from not so big artists, very small upcoming artists. So therefore, it's not like most of the songs are not something you hear every day on the radio or at the clubs or something. So it's mostly.
All right, then here's what we can do. We can just have a little fun with some of the uber pop stars who maybe don't give a shit if we care about their music or listen to their music or anything like that. The one artist that I think had a great run, and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with it this year, it not being all over my TikTok feed, was Sabrina Carpenter. I think had a great run, made some big moves this year, and I'm okay if we pass the baton to a new mega star pop star. So I'm gonna play the safeguard, and go ahead, you guys can play a safeguard too. Trance Jesus, what do you think?
John Summit's album dropped this year, I believe. It's a lot of his tracks were out there. And I know that, from a mainstream perspective, he got a lot of shade, but he's he's one of those guys that he's worked his butt off. He decided that he wasn't going to do the normal 9 to 5. He made music his profession and his passion, and he was really successful at it. And so big props to him. Had a chance to meet him on Groove Cruise a couple times. Was this little short guy in 2020 with the Chicago Bulls jersey, like literally 8 a.m. in the morning right beside me. I'm like, who's this guy? And later on, they're like, oh yeah, that was John Summit. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But no, he's I think that because he had that album come out and a lot of his tracks got played, I think now that we're towards the end of the year, it's like, okay, what is he going to do next? What is that next sound that, he's helped inspire?
Yeah, and when you pop off and you have an album or a song that really hits and that becomes part of the zeitgeist for any given period of time, you, for better or worse, have to put out new music.
Yeah.
And so whatever you were playing in 24, you don't have the luxury of a song being new for even a year, right? No. Or multiple years. Like you might have a month or 2 months. So it's really about the single. It's really about getting more and more tracks out, which is unfair to artists, I think, by and large, because it is really difficult to make a single track, let alone an album, let alone follow up an album. You have to come up with a new album every single year is really difficult. So the fact that you may have some music that got outplayed in 24, well, props to you.
Kudos.
Good on you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, now you have to do it again.
No.
In 2025.
And it's so interesting. Like, I think the culture over the last 12 months is there's so many artists, I think, that have kind of recognized that. They're like, if I want to have my chance to have that little bit of staying power and actually get to do tours and get to a lot of places to play, like, I have to put out an album. I have to put out a lot of music, and out of that album, you'll probably get 25-50% of those tracks played. If you're lucky, that happens. If you're lucky, you tour. But there's so many artists that put out so much great music that it never charts, it never gets toured, and so it's a lot of time, and that's their passion.
You're only as good as your next song, the next beat, whatever it might be. It's it's a tough game. Game. I'll leave it to better folks than me, and that'd be the three of you for sure. So appreciate that. All right, let's move on. You guys are so diplomatic. You guys are so in love with music and the artists. I tried to throw a curveball at you. You guys were very good at deflecting that, but that was a little bit of fun, and nothing but love to artists out there. And again, if your song was so played out, then you did something right. Good for you. All right. New Year's resolutions, right? 24 was, I'm sure, for everybody an emotional roller coaster, like every year is, right? And so we always are coming to the end of the year and reflecting on how we did and things we want to improve upon personally, professionally. It's hard to separate personal and professional, I think, a lot when you're so intertwined, especially with the music, like the three of you. So New Year's resolutions, I'll kind of flip it. Noah, for you, what's a New Year's resolution that you're hoping to implement in the new year?
That's more or less kind of hard since I'd say since June, I did so much musically. Like, as of October, I'm officially signed to a management team music-wise.
Hey.
And I didn't have that opportunity before. And I feel since I've gotten with them, they've given me so much confidence and inspiration. I want to resolute that and bring it into the new year to peak my creativity and basically try and invent newer music compared to how I did at the end of this year. Whereas at the end of this year, I only started 2 tracks and I somehow was able to be done them both in 3 months.
And that's quick.
Yeah.
Okay, for you, so peak creativity. Talk about that a little bit more. How do you feel like you're game planning to implement that? What are some of the steps for you, or what are some of the things that you feel like you need to overcome or improve upon, kind of to find that peak creativity? Because that's not an easy place to be. That's not like flow state at all, right?
I'd say for me, overcoming things, it would be more or less just believing in myself instead of having that, oh, is this gonna be bad? Are people even gonna like this? It's more or less for me just trying to come up with anything and say, fuck it. I'll just make whatever comes to mind. Any sounds, whatever I get inspired by, I'm just going to straight up go for it.
Yes. Yes, I like that. Niffer, for you, thinking about 25, thinking about 24, what's a New Year's resolution? What's something you're looking to work on, improve upon, take the momentum from 24 and cycle it into 25? What do you got for us?
Yeah, usually for every year in January, I make, like, on my notes app on my phone, I write down specific milestones. I haven't done that yet for 2025, but it's so I have something to go off. And I don't have any specific right now, but I always try to do better than the year before, which will probably be pretty hard because this year was.
This is a good year.
This was a really good year.
So talk about that. What's some of the momentum that you created in 2024 that you're really feeling like that's something I got to hold on to? It's a nucleus of like who I am as an artist, as a professional, and that you want to really run with in 25. Let's write your list right now together. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
I'll take my notes app out right now.
I made the track "Tell You" with Sands and Robbie Rosen, which got signed to Loud Memory, and it did extremely well. It's my most streamed song of all time, and it was a progressive house track. which I make. I mostly make progressive house. So I also want to still try to make progressive house and see if it can become something big. The problem is progressive house isn't as big as it used to be anymore. So will also try to collab with other artists that make different kind of genres.
Oh, I like that. The collabs coming this year. And yeah, and congrats on that success. Yeah, now you've set a bar for yourself, huh?
Yeah.
That you need to deliver on. Sometimes it's a blessing and a curse a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, Trance Jesus, that was the biggest head nod I've ever seen. The blessing and a curse of seeing a little bit of shine.
It's a blessing and a curse when one of your projects gets a release on vinyl for a remake of a classic, and it hits in the Beatport charts for a month, and then that's like, okay, like that's pressure, right? It's how do you take that momentum and use it as energy versus like, how am I going to do better? You can't really look at it as how am I going to go bigger? It's how can I use that as my fuel to keep moving forward. So this year, 2024 has definitely been an interesting year for me musically because I haven't done as much with the Trance Jesus project. It's all been about my melodic house and techno project, Fallen Angel. See the little symbolisms between the two. With my buddy Jesse out of LA. So a big shout out to Jesse. He's on a holiday road trip down to Texas with his family. But it's been 2 years in the making. We've been working on tracks and releasing bootlegs and working on originals and reaching out to labels. And then finally you're starting to get that momentum and getting releases. It's just really embracing that and continuing to move forward. It's looking at the releases that are coming in the next couple of months and, continuing to think about, okay, what's that next release? How can we finish the ones that we have in the works, and where are those going to go? So it's been that's where my head has been, at least musically, over the last 6 months.
And when you think about kind of the knowledge or the skill set or the infrastructure or the support that you might need, kind of again taking it to that like idea of a resolution. An idea of a resolution to me is like not to do more push-ups or to have this thing or that thing. It's like, how can I shift my mindset? Where do I need support, and how can I gain that support? Again, shout out to Golden Beats for kind of being that network. Now the four of us are connected and will be, and cool shit comes from that always.
100%.
What is that? What's that support maybe that you're looking for? Further collaboration. We already heard you give that shout out. What else are you looking for to kind of help you support what's next for you?
That's a really great point you made, is just the network of people. They're one of the releases that we were going to have as an EP coming out in January that fell through. I reached out to another friend literally within 24 hours, and his label is like, let's sign it. So, and then that just speaks to the connection that we all have through music, and being able to reach out and say, hey, you know what, I'm trying to do this. I would love your thoughts. And it's not being afraid. Really, it's not being afraid to reach out to the people in your network and ask and say, hey, what do you think? Can you help? I think a lot of us are afraid to actually reach out and sometimes ask for help. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Let's say with that, I want to go into the future a little bit more even. And you kind of started down that thread a little bit. Resolutions, we were talking about a little bit of what it kind of takes to get to this point and where the transition is into the new year. Honestly, resolutions for me, New Year's resolutions, I usually kind of shit on them a little bit. I'm like, no, I'm going to make that switch and that shift whenever I need to, not because it's January 1 of 2025, but it is nice to kind of start to future a little bit and try and imagine and start to get into your mindset for the new year, because there's always those micro shifts and tweaks that we need to make to be the, again, not better version of ourselves, just the right version of ourselves at any given moment. And so that moment now, thinking about 2025, what are some of the big vision? What are some of the big goals? And collaboration is something that everybody has spoke to. So let's like open that up even more. Let's manifest a little bit here. Let's let the universe know a little more, Trance Jesus. What is the work you're looking to do in 25 and beyond?
Absolutely. I think, it's not only writing things down helps to manifest it, talking about it helps to manifest it. It's that mental encouragement, I think, to ourselves to continue down those paths. And one of the things that me and Jesse have started to do is to use tools, use online to-do lists and create 2025 goals. So that way we can come back within a year or even 6 months and say, hey, remember in December we said we were going to do these things, and hey, maybe we're already halfway through all of them. Maybe we're all the way through them, and just continuing to push ourselves to the next level.
God, but two of you now have mentioned just the list. Isn't it? Just write it down.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get scared to write things down because then I'm saying that I really want it. And once I really want it, if I can't figure out how to get it, then, you're just by writing it down, you've maybe let yourself down. You feel like, but that's not it, right? You're allowed to reach for the stars a little bit, aren't you? And then you find a sweet spot somewhere in the clouds. That's okay. I think that's all right too. Lots of clouds and dirt get great accomplishments. So, Niffer, for you, big goals, big hopes, 2025 and beyond. Where's your head at?
And so right now I'm working on a lot of collabs, and that's also something I want to do more of in 2025. Collabing with some pretty big artists also here in Denmark, so I can also get more listeners here in Denmark, and mostly just doing collabs and then trying to get signed to some big labels, and also try to do more social media promoting.
Okay, yeah, you have to be a social media whiz these days to even like exist, basically, which is pretty unreal. So just having great music doesn't mean that much, unfortunately, right? In the kind of the pulse of things that's going on. So yeah, I can appreciate that. And nothing sets more anxiety than like, wow, I made something beautiful, something magical, and now I got to figure out how the hell to get people to listen to it, to watch it, to pay attention to it. Oh God. Right now I can feel my heartbeat going up just like imagining that. Even this is a piece of art and history that we're creating in this moment, the four of us. And it'll live forever. And I know from this, some collabs, something's going to happen. Somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were open to doing some collabs. Hey, let's get into it." Even from the panel here. I mean, how cool would it be if one of the three of you guys, a couple of the three of you guys, got something going together? So I appreciate that. When collabs, I'm interested in that, Niffer, since that's like a focus of yours, and it sounds like it's a focus for everybody. How do you approach that? You just cold reaching out to people and saying, "Hey, I love your music, and here's a beat I was working on, thinking about you. Like, you want to do a track? Like, how does that go?"
Yeah, so typically it's just on Instagram where I found them, and then just listen to their music, and then I follow them, and then they maybe follow me back, and then I just start messaging and saying, "Hey, I like the vibe you're going for in your tracks. Would you be down to do a collab?"
I like it. Straightforward.
Yeah. Yes.
Straightforward. It feels Instagram. It feels like you're like
Yeah.
on a dating app or something. You're like, I followed them. They followed me back. They must like me.
Yes. Yes.
They've actually responded.
Yeah.
Let's start
like,
there,
that's
right?
what I do. Yeah. No, I feel that 100%. And have you had a good experience with that? As far as reaching out to people, like you don't get ghosted by people, or have you? Like, what's that like?
Get ghosted a lot, but I get ghosted sometimes, but also sometimes they also reply back, and sometimes they want to do a collab, sometimes they don't. But also with Tell You, I made with Sans and Robbie Rosen. It was actually also because I knew a Trios, another progressive house producer, and he actually asked if I wanted to hop on that track together with Sans and Robbie Rosen. So that's also how I began to know about Sans.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you scream yes, or did you play it a little bit cool?
Tried to play it a little bit cool.
Try to play it a little bit cool. No, I appreciate that. Noah, for you, Big thinking, big vision. 2025. What are you hoping to accomplish? What's maybe the big goal, big airy audacious goals that you have?
Oh, I honestly, if I'm gonna be brutally honest when I say this. I have 5 or 6 tracks in the works, but they're not just small ones. They're collabs either with vocalists or producers that are friends of mine. And I'd say the one big one I'm really excited for, it's with a Swedish singer. She now lives in LA and she's working permanently, like full time, for singing and songwriting. With that one, it's probably going to be my biggest song ever because of how we're structuring it. And it's beyond anything I could have ever thought of even pulling off.
I love hearing that. I want you to geek out a little bit, because we've already established that you're a super music geek, and just the production of things, the composition of things, like really obviously floats in your head at all times, I can tell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Go there with us a little bit. A track like that, how do you know it's a banger? Like, what about it makes you say, okay, it's got the right producer, it's got the right beat, it's got the right vocalist, it's got like all of these telltale signs of something that's going to drop to be a hit? Walk us through that a little bit. Get a little geeky with us.
Really, about that one, for me, if I feel like I have something in the works and it's good, I'll reach out to people who I either trust really well or I know they're extremely big artists, which I'm thankful and grateful to have the contact of some of them. And they say, oh, this is good, you should try that. If you tweak this, it already sounds good, but if you add this and that, it really just shines. And I'd say with the next track, with the Swedish singer, I really wanted to invoke on hybridizing melodic dubstep type sounds along with electro house, and I wanted to include like Middle Eastern sounds in any type of way mixed. I have so many little things mixed in with acoustic guitars, natural walking sounds like stomps, or more like a Middle Eastern market type thing in it. But I wanted to blend it
Like the sounds of the bazaar or something.
Yeah.
Huh?
I wanted to blend it so perfectly in to where even if somebody's wearing headphones, they'll hear something and they'll be like, what even is that? So they really want to re-listen to it. But for me, it's more, if I believe in myself in the moment, I really know I can pull something off. But more or less when it comes to thinking that way, I more or less just go to the people I trust around, and I know they're going to give me like legit references and feedback. They're not going to just say, oh, this is good, this is good. The ones who I normally ask, they're like, try this, do that, do this. They give me legit constructive criticism that really boosts my confidence.
Oh, I love that. Getting critical feedback, boosting confidence. So many people, it's the opposite, right? It's really hard to take those insights and that advice and those criticisms, those critiques. So I appreciate hearing that. And that's a great mindset to be in, for sure. Trance Jesus, you're creating whole story arcs, whole worlds, whole characters when you kind of do this. So talk us through that as you're planning these Fallen Angel, Trance Jesus. Like, how do you go about creating a whole world within the world of the music that you're actually creating?
It's, finding those artists that we've connected with, a lot of the melodic house and techno, which I know if you see certain people still call that trance, right? In some levels, but a lot of it is really just looking at some of the artists that we like and then taking some of those elements and then kind of making it our own. I think that's where we have really, as our sound, have started to really laser focus in on what's going to make us unique, what's going to make us different. And going in and making those originals, that's definitely a lot harder. But then finding tracks that we have really loved over our lifetimes. And for example, we did one of Prince. It was a bootleg, because of course that would be a really difficult one to release, but one that we're working on, that is hopefully in 2025, is another artist that's celebrating 25 years in music. Is a pretty big track that we like, and just kind of making it into our sound. And then on top of that, if we reach out to those artists, find those right connections, and say, we know this is a big occasion for you, and we would love for you to celebrate that big occasion with our sound. It's just not being afraid to, once you have that track, once you know that it's at that point, to reach out and give it a shot. Don't, I always love to say you miss out on 100% of the opportunities you don't try. And if you
agree.
And that's how this record right here is, because I was thinking, it's like, that would be just so bizarre, back in March, to reach out to John Digweed and say, hey, this is our version of this track, and 9 months later it's sold 300 copies and it was on Beatport, and I can never imagine that. And that was because of that mentality of not being afraid to go for the unknown.
Oh yeah, I love hearing that from all three of you. You gotta shoot your shot. You got to be willing to put yourself out there. And I think there's just going to be more and more of that in 25. And here's the great thing that's going to happen from this as well, is your DMs are going to blow up. People are going to listen to this, watch this in some corner of the United States, some corner of Denmark, some corner of Canada, and say, hey, I heard what you said on the Golden Beats podcast. That was fucking awesome. Like, really resonated with me. It really spoke to me. It really is something that I'm interested in, something that I've been through. And you're going to collab. You're going to do something, right? Something's going to happen from that. And I think that's just the cool part about putting yourself out there and being willing to be truly an artist, because an artist shares in the most personal and unique way that I know. And so I appreciate hearing that kind of from all of you. So, this is good stuff. I got like the tingles, man. I feel like fired up, and the creative juices are flowing. So I appreciate that from all of you. All right, to wrap here, I want to hear from each of you where we can find you. What's the social media handles? We'll make sure and tag those up. What are the places that you want to build your community? Is it website? Is it your playlists? What and where can people find you? So Niffer, I'll jump to you. Where should people be following you, checking you out, and staying in tune?
You can follow me on Instagram, Niffer_music, and also listen to me on Spotify and every other streaming platform, where I'm just called Niffer, and also on YouTube, just Niffer Music, and also TikTok, Niffer_music, I think.
All the platforms.
Yes, yeah, all the platforms.
Niffer, yeah. And some form of music on all of the platforms.
Yes.
That's good. It's nice when you can have your handle or some semblance of your handle translate across all platforms. Yes. Love hearing that. And we got Noah. Where should people be checking you out? Where should they be following you?
The main social that I use would be Instagram. Honestly, I find it's an amazing platform, but I'm on everything, but I mainly use Instagram. Like, I'm posting daily reels, stories, posts, and literally anything that can come to mind. Music and personal related, it doesn't matter. I'm on every single platform, just at The Real Noah Martn Music. And if you'd like to listen to my music, it's just Noah Martn. You'll see my logo from my Insta. It's literally on everything. And I also have a link tree in my bio on my profile in Insta, just to make it easy to find everything too.
There's so many places, it's so many places, and everyone's on 2, 3, 4 platforms, and like keeping it all straight. So the link tree is smart. Talk about that now. I got the social media manager chops going for all of you. Trance Jesus, where can we find Trance Jesus, the fallen angel, aka?
Yeah. So being in IT for a long time and having developed websites for 30 years, and that's weird to say. I've always been
There were websites 30 years ago?
There were websites 30 years ago. Hard to believe. They looked like garbage, but they were there.
We're all getting old, man.
But I'm always a big believer in landing pages. And so what I always tell people is to find my set socials and live shows coming to you. Go to trancejesus.com or wearefallenangel.com. So if anyone out there needs help with that regard, just hit me up. I've got templates, and I'll just use your socials. And literally the hardest part is finding a domain name. But it's nice to have that one little calling card just to drop in people's lap. Just say, hey, there's my domain name with all the socials to be able to find me.
All right, everyone, you heard that. Trance Jesus is open for collabing on helping with landing pages and the continuity of your digital footprint as well.
You nailed it.
Which is a whole hornet's nest in and of itself. All right, to all three of you, what a great conversation, really inspiring stuff. And for everybody who's been watching, listening, once again, this was Golden Beats New Year's Roundtable for 24-25. We are wrapping up what's been a great year, a challenging year, highs and lows, I think, for everybody. And so we want to celebrate those highs. We don't want to shy away from those lows. We always want to be supporting each other wholeheartedly, everything that goes into being a human that makes music, a human that enjoys music, because it is really some of the social fabric of who we are as a culture. And even across 3 different countries that are represented here, you can see the level of camaraderie and kinship that comes from this love of just dropping some beats, man, and feeling good and setting a vibe and setting a tone for the way that people interact as people. All right, that is it for this episode. Once again, Golden Beats podcast coming at you 24-25. Hope everyone has a great new year. Cheers.